family drama has me questioning what the word family really means. We are family. I got all the drama with me. Starting us off, would I be the a-hole if I outed my sister so my parents won't hate my fiance? This was first posted August 22nd, 2020. I, 27 male, live with my 27 female fiance, Annie, and recently my sister, Mia, came to live with us. Mia has never actually told me she was a lesbian, but I've always kind of knew that she was. Anyways, my parents asked if Mia could move in with us because she can't see her friends since they are high risk. This is in 2020. Almost forgot about the world pandemic. That's a joke. How could I forget? I agreed, and Mia has been living with us. I've started to notice changes in her behavior around Annie. Mia has always been shy about her body. At most will wear knee-length shorts on a very hot day, even with family. Now she's basically always in sports bras and booty shorts. It was odd, but I haven't lived with my parents in 6 years, so I don't know if she changed her home habits during the time that I was gone. I just brushed it off as a self-esteem boost, and I was proud of her. Then she got especially close to Annie. I assumed it was just admiration, but then it got super weird. She was sticking even closer to Annie, and it wasn't like she was butting in on us when we were being romantic, but it was like she was trying to prevent romantic moments from happening by trying to direct Annie somewhere else. Does your sister have a crush on your wife? Fiance? She would also leave the room or look sad when we kissed. I got the feeling she had a crush on Annie. I confronted her about her feelings and told her that it was fine if she had a crush, but she was taking it too far, and she denied it. Now my sister knows I know she's a lesbian because a few years ago I sent her one of those "if ex-friend was ever more than a friend" texts. She denied that they were more than friends. I told her that I'll always be here to support her and move on. Things would stop for a while, then pick up. We would have this conversation, then the cycle would just repeat. Annie figured out that Mia probably had a crush on her and was uncomfortable by the whole situation. Yeah. A few weeks ago, Annie kind of sister-zoned Mia, and things just escalated. She openly flirted with Annie to the point where Annie didn't even want to be at home. We couldn't do anything romantic at home because she might start openly bawling in her room. Mia was very cold to me and always snapping at me for small reasons. 'Cause she's jealous. I had enough when she made breakfast for Annie and her using the food I specifically bought for myself and Annie, and she walked out crying. I pulled her aside and told her she needs to stop it right now or I will kick her out. She acted like she didn't know what I was talking about again, so now I'm definitely kicking her out. The only problem is my parents. I can just kick out my little sister and not tell them why. If I tell the truth, my sister will be outed, but if I tell a half-truth, like she made my fiance uncomfortable, they will hate my fiance because I can't actually explain what my sister did to make her uncomfortable without outing her. My sister deserves a chance to come out, and this isn't like I accidentally outed her either. Is getting herself outed a consequence of her actions, or would I be an a-hole? Edit. I'm just going to clarify why I can't say that the living arrangement wasn't working out. Like I said in the beginning, my parents are high risk, so she cannot see her friends at all. So if it wasn't working out, they would tell me to suck it up until the school year starts. If I didn't, I would be the heartless jerk who doesn't want to let my little sister have a social life. Second, I don't think they would believe me in the first place because I've never had a problem with my sister. They would assume that I'm just covering up for Annie. What a difficult situation this is. Luckily, we have an update that came in September of 2020. I got a lot of, you would not be the a-hole for kicking my sister out, but you would be the a-hole for outing my sister. I accepted it at that point and was going to have to talk with my parents without outing my sister and being especially vague. Then, to my surprise, there was a string of not the a-hole for both. The reason being my sister's behavior was a crime and needs to be addressed immediately. I decided to just talk with Annie, who was ultimately the victim, and asked her what she wanted to do, with the exception that there was no debating my sister getting the heck out. She said she wanted to tell my parents what happened because they deserve to know. I couldn't agree more, not because, like some of you suggested, I wanted to take out my sister for revenge, but because I think part of the blame is on them. Growing up, I was always the smart kid and she was always the social kid. My parents put my education over her events. She couldn't invite her friends over because I was studying. If she was invited to a friend's birthday and I had tutoring around the same time, she would either have to walk to her friend's house, be late, or not even go at all. At one point, they realized how this was affecting her and just let her do what she wanted. When I needed it to be quiet so I could study, they would just ship me off to my uncle's house. I didn't mind. My parents would let her do what she wanted, but they gave me more attention. So yes, like some of you suggested, my sister definitely needs therapy. So we talked to my parents after we kicked her out. We told them what Mia did, and I think my dad believed us, but my mom didn't. Okay, is it just all the flirting and stuff, or am I missing a big part? Did I miss something and skip past a very important detail? I think we're just talking about all the things adding up. The inappropriate, the flirting, the reactions, everything, the breakfast. Okay, they're wording it like it's a very specific, one event. So I'm getting thrown off here. So we talked to my parents after we kicked her out. We told them what Mia did, and I think my dad believed us, but my mom didn't. This part is now all just being relayed from my parents. They went to my sister, and to my surprise, she came clean to everything. She admitted what she did was wrong, but she couldn't stop herself, and she was just so angry at me for getting all the attention all the time. I had all the good things that she didn't. Well, it ended up in a shouting match, and they kicked her out. They kicked her out of their house, but they moved her into my aunt's house. They gave her an ultimatum, either go to therapy or receive no financial support from them, with the condition that if she doesn't start therapy within the next 5 years, they will not be paying for her sessions. I think they should pay either way, but it's their money, so not my place to say anything. I haven't heard from my sister. She texted Annie to tell her she's sorry and asked her to meet up, but she hasn't reached out to me. I probably wouldn't have responded if she did, though. I will also be looking into getting into therapy, even if I'm angry at my sister and never want to see her again. I also feel like I lost her. Yes, Mia was outed in the end, but I think that considering everything, this is the best outcome for her too. I'm happy to hear you're both in therapy at this point, though. I think that will be healing in a lot of ways, because there's more to this from your childhood and everything. What an uncomfortable, difficult situation. How would you guys handle that if that was your sibling and your partner? Am I the a-hole for skipping my brother's wedding because I wasn't invited to the engagement party? But why weren't you invited to the engagement party? This is fresh. We got a hot off the press story, July 15th, 2025. I, 28 male, have a twin brother. Growing up, we were inseparable, and until recently, I thought we were still very close. I was always more of a shy nerd, and he was an extrovert that played sports throughout our childhood and high school, but we spent almost all of our time together by choice. We went our separate ways when college came. He stayed local in Arizona, and I went to college in Portland. When I graduated, I stayed there because I fell in love with the city. My friends were here. My professional networks from internships were here, etc. But I always flew back home for the holidays, events, birthdays, etc. My brother announced on Instagram that he and his girlfriend of 3 years got engaged. I was incredibly happy for him, and I texted him congrats. He mentioned they were planning to have an engagement party in 6 to 8 weeks, and I told him to let me know so I can book a flight to come celebrate. I was never told a date. If I brought it up with him or anyone in my family, they would change the subject or say it's still being planned and confirmed. After a few weeks, I texted my brother to ask about the date because it must be getting close and I don't want to pay for a last-minute flight. No response. I asked my mom for details and she said, it's really not an engagement party, just a small dinner with family. There's no need to come down for it. I eventually found out that it was, in fact, a big party. They rented out an entire restaurant for 4 hours and there were about 80 guests. Family, friends, cousins, everyone. Everyone was told I couldn't make it. Even if you didn't think oh, it's not a big deal, you don't need to come, Let them choose. Invite them, make them feel included and wanted to be there, and then let them decide. My aunt, who was like a second mother to me, texted me that she was very disappointed I couldn't make the time to join. And I replied that I would have happily come, but I was not invited. Word spread quickly about my snub, and my parents and brother tried to say that it was a misunderstanding. That was almost a year ago. Since then, I've tried to get to the bottom of why I wasn't invited. Over the course of months, it went from, it was just meant to be a small gathering, to, I don't know what happened, there must have been a miscommunication, to, it's just a party, it's not a big deal. I asked my brother if he was mad at me. I thought maybe his fiance didn't like me. Even if she or he didn't want me there, why were my parents okay with this? This really wasn't like them. Christmas and Easter were awkward as hell because no one but me wanted to address the elephant in the room, and any conversation about anything was like a small talk with strangers. When I visited in May for my sister's birthday, I left early after my sister said, "You moved so far away. It's like you're not really family anymore. You make everything feel so weird now." That would be absolutely heartbreaking to hear. 9 months ago, I got the save the date announcement, and 6 months ago, I got the invitation to the wedding. I wasn't asked to be in the wedding party, which is fine and wasn't surprising at this point. My sister and younger brother were asked to be in the wedding party, so another snub. I also didn't get a +1 for my girlfriend that I've been seeing for almost a year and a half. My sister, however, got a +1 for her friends with benefits. So I decided I wasn't welcome, and I was probably only invited for optics to play happy family. I didn't RSVP no, since I knew that would cause a crap show. I just didn't go. The wedding was this past weekend. No one contacted me about missing the rehearsal dinner, so I guess even if I did go, I wasn't invited to that either or expected to be there. I started getting calls and texts about an hour before the ceremony asking where I was, if my flight was delayed, how far along I would be, etc., and I ignored them. They stopped for a while during the ceremony, but started up again right after. I finally picked up my mom's call, and she screamed,
"Where the hell are you?"
And I said, "In Portland, where you all prefer me to be." She said, "This is your brother's wedding. How could you embarrass us?" I answered, "It's just a party. It's not a big deal, right?" It was probably the first time in my life my mother was speechless. After a few seconds of silence, I said, "Tell everyone I say hi," and I hung up. Now I'm getting calls and texts from everyone saying that I am being petty and I ruined the day. So am I the a-hole here? I feel like I'm just matching their energy and dropping the rope. Interesting. We have another update. I thought that was it. To the people who said, "You are the a-hole," I understand your reasons. Yes, it was cowardly to not RSVP to avoid drama, but looking back, I was in a headspace where I would just cave to the guilt if I RSVP'd that I wasn't planning to attend. Also, a little part of me was hoping they would realize I didn't RSVP and that they would tell me they want me to come. But every day that passed between the RSVP date and the wedding, I just got angrier and more hurt, and I wanted to make it clear in a big way that if they don't want me around, I don't have to be around. And I get that is an a-hole move. I had a long phone call with my aunt and my cousin last night about the wedding drama. They had given me some more info, and our suspicions are a bit of conjecture based on what we know and what we've heard, but here it goes.
Ooh.
Okay, some outside gossip that maybe has some insight on why this could all happen. We really do think my mother felt I rejected them when I didn't move back after graduating. This is despite always coming home for my brother and sister's graduations, all birthdays, mine and immediate families, holidays, special events, etc. I practically visit on a monthly basis. That is so expensive. But despite this, we think she has some weird vendetta against me for splitting up her family and being an example to my siblings that they don't have to stay local. Even worse, somehow visiting so often made my mother resentful because my aunt mentioned that my mother once told her a few years ago that I was flaunting my wealth by showing that I could visit so often. Wouldn't you want your kid to be successful and be able to come home so often? Thanks to my senior year internship, I went immediately into a field where progression can be quick, and thanks to going back for a very specialized master's degree, I am in a very niche space within that field, and I was able to move up faster. I'm not bragging, it was just luck, connections, and a great mentor early on. People suggested my brother might be jealous. He does earn less, but as far as I know, he loves his job. It just doesn't have the same career progression. Honestly, his job is much more exciting than mine, and I'm sure it fulfills him a lot more. My job isn't terrible, it's just not one anyone wants to hear work stories about at a dinner party. LOL. I was also flaunting my money by giving family money when they needed it. My grandfather often said, "Never loan family money. Give it freely if you want to, but you'll destroy relationships when you start asking for repayment." Not a week of Judge Judy reruns goes by without proving that true. Hey, my girl. So when I could, I gifted my family money when they needed it. Money for car repairs, money to help my parents' mortgage when my dad was out of work during COVID, money when my brother ran out halfway through his kitchen renovations, and until last night, my parents' internet and Disney Plus bills. But I've now canceled the monthly auto payments. Again, this was me flaunting my success. Or just being generous because you're having success in your life. And wouldn't families be proud of that? Insane. But they never stopped asking either. My aunt and cousin also said they've heard a lot of passive-aggressive comments made about me over the years. First from my mother during the first few years after I decided to stay in Portland, and then eventually from my siblings. We're pretty sure my mother slowly poisoned them against me for not moving back home and showing what happens if they ever tried to move away. Someone said this about my mother meeting my girlfriend in my previous post. All right, so we're quoting something that was said about his mom meeting his girlfriend. To be honest, given the context of everything else that's happened, what your mother said here about finally finding someone who can put up with you sounds less like a tongue-in-cheek joke and more like a not-so-subtle barb. I see it now. I laughed it off as just my mom's humor, but I now also see that these passive-aggressive comments to me, to my siblings, over the years was subtle manipulation to turn them against me and for me to learn to accept it. A lot of people suggested this treatment was going to get me to move back home and punish me for leaving, but I'm not going to come home to embrace treatment like this and hope it goes away now that they got their way, especially when it's been too ingrained in them by now. It also explains why, for the past few years, almost every conversation is initiated by me. They simply don't like me anymore and they don't need me till they need or want something. My cousin also learned from another cousin that my brother shot himself in the foot when he mentioned the engagement party. I wasn't supposed to know at all. The plan was to tell everyone I couldn't make it and hope that I would never find out. My brother told that cousin that I wasn't supposed to find out about it, but after he let it slip, I wouldn't shut up about asking to come. So that's why he never answered your texts when you were like, "Hey, I want to book a flight." Based on how they've been talking about me for a couple of years, lots of extended family thinks I'm some annoying loser who makes my too often visits miserable for my family, and I can't get the hint to F off. So I am finally effing off. My aunt and my mother never really got along. My aunt is my mother's brother's wife. But my aunt said she knew all of this had my mom's name all over it and that years of digs, passive-aggressive comments, and full-on aggressive comments have all come to this. She said they're not the same people. I told them that I don't think there's any coming back from this then. My aunt and cousin both mentioned that they never heard my dad say anything bad, so my aunt is going to have my uncle talk to my dad, man to man, to see if he can find out what the hell is going on. I thanked my aunt and my cousin and reminded them they are pretty much the only family I have left and I don't plan on losing touch with them. My aunt even mentioned that they haven't gone camping in years and asked if there was any nice places around Portland. It's too far to drive to go camping, but it means that they may visit sometime. They also said they're going to try to correct info about me with other extended family members, but I told them not to bother. They've already chosen to believe it. But for now, my immediate family is cut off. I have blocked them on my phone and social media. No more free handouts when they need money. No more wasting money to go to Phoenix, Arizona 10 times a year just to be roasted by the sun and family members. No more punching bag. Terrible. That actually got a lot worse than I was expecting. I thought it was just about the wedding. No. Sometimes you got to cut off a family member, y'all. And it's hard. It's hard, but you got to do it for your own mental peace. Speaking of peace, let's hydrate. Because that brings our bodies peace. Apparently. Does it though? Really? Cheers. My atheist brother is having a Christian funeral. I'm not attending. This was posted June 1st, 2025. My brother and I were not close in later life. He made some bad life decisions that ultimately led to his death earlier this week in his late 40s. My parents are both alive and obviously upset. I spoke to my mom. I told her that the one thing I can do for him is advocate for a non-religious funeral, as he was very non-religious. He was openly mocking religious beliefs. My mom claims she is Christian. News to me, she never goes to church and never mentioned this all of my life, and that my dad was baptized Catholic. True, but he's an atheist. And that whilst she acknowledges my brother mocked religion, it's important for her that he has a Christian funeral. I got angry and started typing a response, but I remembered she's just lost her son and she has taken it hard. My dad messaged me to say he's staying hands off and letting my mom celebrate my brother in her way, whilst he will deal with his feelings privately. I just replied okay to both of them. I haven't told them yet that I won't attend because the timing would be cruel, but I cannot support such disregard for my brother's beliefs. If I am tasked with managing my mom's funeral, I shall return the favor. As I mentioned, my brother and I were not close. I would only be going to support my parents. I have no personal need to travel across the country for this. Oh boy. Okay, we have an update, which came July 7th, 2025. 7 weeks later. I messaged my dad the same day. He said that he'll grieve in his own way and will let my mom have the funeral she wants. We caught up on the phone later and I explained I wasn't going to attend, but I would drive over to support him and mom, and I would come to the wake, which he understood. When I said that mom claimed he was Catholic, he laughed. I said, "So we're going to say prayers and sing hymns for John? Ridiculous." "Oh, screw that," he said. "That's not going to happen." He then asked me what sort of thing I would like to see. I said we could talk about how he was a good father and play some music that he would like. My dad agreed. However, I decided to not raise it with my mom as she just lost her son, and whilst I'm a bit of a I'm not that much of a This was all a few weeks ago and the funeral is this Friday. My mom just called me and said my dad just told her I'm not attending. She said she would like me there and promised me it won't be a Christian funeral. Told me exactly what was planned, which songs, etc. She raised the issue with other family members and apparently they laughed at her and said that about 30 of John's friends are coming and will not be interested in singing hymns. She then said she didn't feel that strongly about it in the first place, which is a contradiction of what she initially told me, but she's grieving and trying to make this work, so I didn't push it. I agreed to go to the funeral. Thank God, okay? I was really getting concerned here that you were going to miss your brother's funeral. And even if you weren't close, it is still your brother. That is the most positive to also a terrible story about losing your brother. Ugh, my gosh. We need some lighter stories. I need happy things. I'm gonna go watch Hannah Montana. Let me know your thoughts on this, you guys. What would you guys do in these situations? I'll see you in the comment section. Stay classy out there. Stay sassy. See you tomorrow.